Hello and welcome to the Football Parliament podcast, your one stop destination for all your football debates, opinions, and discussions. The year 2020 is now finally over, but what tournament it was. One could argue that was one of the best European tournaments of all time, and it makes me really sad that it has to be 3 more years before we get to see one more of these. But for now, for today's video, is going to be kind of a recap as I give my views on this template that you all can see on your screens, which says my Euro 2020 best player, best young player, most surprising player, also the most disappointing player. So quite self-explanatory over here. Let's get started with the video. Just a very spawn message from the entire Football Parliament podcast team. Our deepest apologies for not uploading consistently during the European tournaments. Some of us had personal commitments, some technical issues, but from now, we do hope to be posting consistently and regularly. Let's get into the video. Best player. Well, to be very honest, according to me, there were a few very good players, but I'll be very honest, I don't think there was one completely standout player. Like, even when Donnarumma received the award, I don't think many people could say it with conviction that, okay, Gianluigi Donnarumma is going to win the best player award. I think something like 3 players from England, 3 players from Italy stand out to be probably the top 5 players of the tournament, and the gap between all of them is actually very little. I think to name a few of the first players that do come into my mind are obviously Donnarumma, but then again his counterpart John Pickford, who actually won the Golden Glove above Donnarumma. Some very fine defenders with Maguire, Bonucci, the ones that come into my mind. Uh, Even Luke Shaw, and then Italy, a very fine midfield, Verratti, Jorginho. I think these are the first names that do come into my mind when I think of player of the tournament. Donnarumma. Do I completely agree with Gianluigi Donnarumma? I would have 100% disagreed before the final penalty shootout. I do think that it was a lot to do with the penalty shootout in the finals. Obviously, pulling off 2 saves is it in the finals is not an easy task. But I don't think I'm going to go with Gianluigi Donnarumma, to be very honest. I just feel that he was probably the second or third best player of the tournament. And I might be a bit biased with this one, but I'm just so impressed by a certain Jorginho, who I'm going to give my best player of the tournament. And I don't think it's like an outrageous take, as some people might think it is. Jorginho actually broke the record for the most number of interceptions at a single Euro. Yes, you heard it right. I don't think this record is actually being spoken about enough. And it's quite interesting, in my opinion, because Jorginho, the kind of player he is, the narrative surrounding Jorginho has always been that he is a weak defensive player. Even Rio Ferdinand, in an interview a few years ago, did say this. So yeah, it was very good seeing Jorginho prove his doubters wrong. Jorginho winning the European double. He's now the champion of Europe with club and country. I think he had a very, very solid tournament. The fact that when Marco Verratti came in back from injury, the Italy midfield had Manuel Locatelli, they had Nico Barella and Jorginho already playing. Many thought that to accommodate Verratti, Jorginho will be the one who will miss out because Locatelli started the tournament on the back of 2 goals. He is playing very amazing. Barella is one player who is playing fine as well. So people did expect to see either Verratti or Locatelli in the defensive mid role with Jorginho missing out. But it was Locatelli who missed out, and this actually shows how important Jorginho is to his team, whichever team he plays for, be it Italy or Chelsea. So yeah, I'm gonna go for Jorginho as my player of the tournament. The best young player. Well, I have disagreed with uh, Gianluigi Donnarumma, who got player of the tournament. But for young player, I think UEFA or whichever committee does decide it have got it quite right, giving it to Pedri. To be very honest, I did not see all of Spain's group stage matches, but I did see their knockout stage matches, and I was so impressed. I just couldn't believe that a player of his, he just was someone who was playing way beyond his age. That's all I'll say. the work rate that he got, the passing. I think he reminded me of a certain, you could say, David Silva, or I don't know, probably not David Silva, but yeah, Pedri is. Actually, I haven't read the criteria for young player because it just struck my mind that even Gianluigi Donnarumma is 22. So if the young player is something like an under 21, then it definitely goes to Pedri. But yeah, if it is something like the under 23, as it is in the Premier League, I think Donnarumma would be a really good shout. So yeah, that's my take. If it's under 21, it's Pedri Gonzalez without a doubt. If it's under 23, I will have to give it to Gianluigi Donnarumma for his heroics in the finals. Not just that, he's been very good throughout the tournament, barely conceded any goals, definitely. Mightily impressed. Both of these players playing way above their age. You would see a box to box midfielder, especially a goalkeeper. Few of the best in these positions you would expect are 28, 29, 30. These guys are what, 18, 22, and they are playing at the very top level. So it was extremely good seeing these two young players. Moving on to the most surprising and the most disappointing player. Who am I going to go for the most surprising player? Well, the most surprising player and most disappointing player definitely has something to do with expectations. So probably the most surprising player is a player that had very few expectations with him, yet performed extremely well. I think one of the first names that does come into my mind is Patrick Schick. Not many people spoke about him enough, but he is the joint top scorer of the Euros. I think he's very unfortunate to not receive a golden boot, which was only given to Ronaldo. I think that's extremely unfair, only because Ronaldo had the extra assist. I really don't think that matters in a goal scoring tournament or in a goal scoring award. Sorry. Whew. I won't say Maguire because, to be honest, all the Premier League fans who have been seeing Manchester United recently do know that Maguire is a class defender. Same goes with Luke Shaw. I think Jordan Pickford is a very good shout away. I think Pickford, the fact that he did win the Golden Glove, he actually hasn't conceded from open play. Two or three goals conceded in the entire Euros. And Pickford is someone whom at the start of the Euros I put in as, yes, I'd say it. I think a month before the Euros, I thought that Pickford should be England's third choice goalkeeper behind Nick Pope and Dean Henderson back then. And now you could just see his performances at the Euros. It's been phenomenal. And I think I am convinced that Jordan Pickford will be my most surprising player because he is a player that's been heavily criticized, but he's just turned his potentially turned his career around at the Euros. He's been such a good tournament. I've always said that he pulls off his best performances while wearing the Three Lions badge rather than the Everton badge. And Gareth Southgate wouldn't necessarily mind that because he is getting the performances he wants. And this tournament, I think, yeah, I'm going to go for Pickford as the most surprising player. Now, the most disappointing player is obviously going to be a player with very high expectations who completely did not live to them. Well, the two first names that come into my mind are obviously two of the best players in world football. I'd say that both of these players easily come into top 10 players of world football. And shockingly, both of them had a disastrous tournament. It was a group of death clash between Kylian Mbappe and Bruno Fernandes. For the most disappointing player, I think Mbappe is hands down the best young player in world football. Fernandes, I think he was the best midfielder in the Premier League this season. Yeah, I think he was. So yes, these were the two players that had very high expectations surrounding them. Obviously, two very talented players. They still are world class. Obviously, nothing. A tournament doesn't change a lot. But with Fernandez, he did not start the tournament extremely well. The first game, I think he wasn't particularly glamorous, but that got covered away by the fact that Portugal had a good 3-0 win. But then it was from the second game that all started falling apart, especially with Portugal's midfield defensive weakness, blown out of cover. for which even a player of the caliber of Bruno Fernandes, I mean, he was dropped by Fernando Santos. Now, at one time, you're talking about a player to be the player of the tournament, to be one of the best mids in world football. The next moment, you see him dropped by his manager. So I think that is disappointing enough. Kylian Mbappe, I think he was equally disappointing. Uh, Even if I just remove the last bit of the penalty miss, that's I think a bit unfortunate and a bit harsh way to judge a player. But apart from that, I really think that he wasn't that good either. Uh, did he score in the tournament? I don't think so. He missed some easy chances as well, and he was definitely not the player that we've seen in the previous tournaments like the 2018 World Cup. But I'm just going to give Mbappe a bit of, youngster advantage over here. He's 22, and I don't know. I just think that France overall, the kind of atmosphere they had, we heard reports. I've not been there, but yeah, I just think I'm going to give this one to Bruno Fernandes. He was dropped completely altogether, and I think that's quite a shame for someone who is dubbed to be by at least United fans as the best midfielder in world football. Is it? I definitely don't think that he is near the best midfielder in world football. There's definitely 4 to 5 midfielders that come before him. You could say Kevin De Bruyne, you could say N'Golo Kante, Casemiro, Kimmich, Modric probably, Muller. That's a debate for another day. But yes, my best player, I've given it to Jorginho. Best young player, I've given it to Gianluigi Donnarumma slash Pedri, depending upon the criteria. Most surprising player, I've given it to Jordan Pickford. And the most disappointing player, I've given it to Bruno Fernandes. So, yeah, that'll be the end of the video, I guess. For more top quality football content, keep listening to the Football Parliament podcast. Thank you.